Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed, and we have been doing a lot of wonderful work, or rather play. And we have come to some amazing conclusions over the last couple of weeks, and in particular the last three podcasts. So, if you've been following along, let me ask you this. Are you a soul seeking and following the logos? With a mind seeking and following the dialectic? A self seeking and following the dream maker? And in all three of those things, doing your best to, or through those three things, doing your best to uncover and remove any false image of the self that you've been identifying with, any false belief about reality and mind that you've been carrying, and seeking to use your freedom from those two things to discover the truth, to know and show the self, and to know and function through mind or reality. Self-reality, purifying the false, perfecting the true, as a soul, seeking and following the logos, as a mind, seeking and following the dialectic, as a self, seeking and following the dream maker. So that's where we are in our conclusions. Pretty neat stuff. Of course, that will mean nothing to those who haven't been reading along with us. And if you haven't been reading along with us, I feel sorry for you. Because we have been having a lot of fun. And discovering the purpose or the meaning of life. Not only that, learning how to answer that question, because as we've seen, there are three levels of answering that question. What's the purpose, or how are you functioning as a soul? What's your purpose or ideal activity of mind? And what's the purpose or intended function of self? And within those within those three levels, we've seen that there are 5 causes or aspects, or rather 4 aspects that come together to give rise to a 5th, its intended purpose. And for each of those 5, you can have their opposites that will give an understanding of human problems. And of course, as we have its opposite complementary 5, its upward sets of 5, we also have its horizontally moving sides, because the paradigm of soul, mind, and self is the paradigm of everything. That's the dialectic or the logos that the dream maker uses to guide us on this journey, meaning any intelligible structure should follow that same structure, meaning we can move horizontally to different sets of things that follow those same 5 stages, steps, or classes. So we can use our understanding of our own purpose to understand the cognitive functions. What are the 5 cognitive functions we can move through? What are the 5 kinds of souls that Socrates talks about in the Republic? What are the 5 parts of the dialectic that we use in conversation, or meditation, or contemplation? Etc., etc. Apply it to anything you're interested in. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It makes sense.
And I do make sense. Thank you, soundboard. So, that's where we are. And also we have 8. While that's a fun thing to know as the truth and benefit from, and to reflect on with our friends, and to apply in every moment of our life, one of the aspects of this dialectic that mind is seeking and following is sharing it. And as we know, human beings have to both perfect towards the truth and purify what's false. Most people will have a false belief about self and reality and be in, to some degree, those negative 5 opposites of the 5 causes of soul, mind, and self that are problems because they function in opposition to it. Problems of the soul are problems specifically because they function in opposition or are blocking the logos. Problems of mind are problems but definitionally because they function in opposition to the dialectic. Debate, bro, stuff. Debate, opinion, belief, conflict. In fact, looking at the causes applied to what we are supposed to be doing with mind, those 5 causes. Oh, there's a big red line. You can play yourself. If our ideal material condition of mind, or receptive state of mind, open and curious state of mind, is to be receptive to rule of by the dialectic, to seek and follow the dialectic, what would be a non-receptive mind, a crappy material cause of mind that's not receptive to following the dialectic and thinking through the dialectic, or in other words, to be ruled by the dialectic. If our ideal activity, therefore, is to engage in the dialectic, to purify what's false, to perfect what's true, and to reflect on that activity that we're benefiting on, to discover we are benefiting, we are in an activity where care is being transferred, and we are existing and therefore in a providential reality, so long as we take part in the dialectic. What would be activities that oppose the dialectic? That seek to spend your time doing other things. The easy one, of course, is debate, because it's all of the qualities of the dialectic, question and answer, none of that. It's just vomiting your own stupid opinions and beliefs. Following the logos as it unfolds providentially. Nope, I know the truth and I'm going to argue for it. Debate. Moving together as friends, step by step, together, each step of the way, coming together and seeing together each step as you make them. Nope, just monologuing. So the debate would be an easy answer for that. The ideal functioning, therefore, is to facilitate that with receptive minds to benefit them. There's the cosmic dance of mind. As the dialectician, what's its opposite? What sort of people try and block or oppose human beings functioning as a dialectician? If there is a paradigm of mind that you can know as a whole or as a model that contains all of the aspects, parts, terms, structure for the dialectic, our ideal state of mind that we're after, divine luminosity or wisdom. What opposes wisdom? And of course, that for the sake of which, to discover that the greatest, only by going through this can you realize that dialectic is our highest functioning of mind. By participating in the dialectic, we get benefit, and the dialectic has 2 primary functions: to purify our beliefs, which are caused by a false idea of self, and to perfect our wisdom towards knowing the true nature of self and functioning through it. Only if you've got all those boxes ticked can you recognize that the greatest functioning in that activity to participate in providence is our dream maker. And the dream maker guides yourself. So from mind to self, I want to know the self. I better look to the master of self, the dream maker, and function through its dialectic to become a dialectician of dreams, a dream analysis midwife. And through that activity or functioning, we can awaken the paradigm, not the paradigm of mind, wisdom, or divine luminosity, or the penultimate spiritual experience, but the model of self. To know the self, the ultimate spiritual state. That, for the sake of which, is the big question. What do we join with on a higher level of functioning when we have ticked all the boxes of soul, mind, and self as human beings? The text says the end of that dance, or the dance concludes when we have met all the conditions, which would be the ideal causes for a new greater whole, or to join to a new, no, the race of man ends no longer of man, but that to which he has joined himself. What sort of being would you want to be? Well, perhaps you can come to that conclusion, or come to a hypothesis, if in the activity of dream analysis, you're also reflecting on the dream maker. So, pretty neat, but sharing it. We need people to read with as the greatest activity of our soul, and talk with our reading about as our greatest functioning of soul. To discover the dialectic, we need minds to practice being a dialectician with, or to be a receptive mind in the activity and play the dialectic game as the subject. And we need people to be curious about the self and the guide of their self, to know the self, their dream maker, to reflect on our dreams with, or to help them understand theirs. It's not a solo quest. So we need to share it as best we can. There, of course, is an art to that some people are naturally talented in. Special beings. Magical beings. Ha 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 ha. Like Jack and the Beanstalk. Magical beans. Not small beans, great beans, great magical beans. Ha 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 ha.
You make sense.
I do make sense. Right, so as we share that, we are also hunting down, or wanting to nail down, a set of understandable reactions to truth. It's going to be a very, very, very rare sort of a person who is going to be open to those sorts of conclusions straight off the bat. But we have been building a list of the kinds or classes of interpretation or responses to new truth, which we have to be aware of if we want to share it well. We don't want to put people off their most meaningful activities. We don't want people to confuse philosophy with the way everyone thinks philosophy is. Philodoxia, modern philosophy, in the tradition of Justinian the religious jerk and Aristotle the materialist, which has none of those causes, which has the opposites. So we don't want people to be confused. We don't want people to be put off. And we don't want people to fight for their own ignorance, which will be triggered with a new truth. In other words, when we say a new truth, their old beliefs will fight back. We don't want to engage in fighting or debating, because all that will do is get people more entrenched in their old ignorance. The very suffering where we were trying to help them learn the activity to overcome. Does that sentence make sense? I'm trying to share, help them learn the activity that overcomes that old ignorance or false beliefs. So them defending it in a debate against what they think is new and scary is antithetical to what we want. So far there are 8 in the book people or types of rejecting of interpretation of a new truth that we're understanding so far. Number one, rejecting the new and keeping the old. I don't care about your philosophy stuff. Go to hell. I am going to die a Anglican and kill all non-Anglicans and whatever. Boo. Those who claim to speak for the new while remaining loyal to the old, or a wolf in sheep's clothing, like Paul, the most quoted Christian of modern Christianity. Those who take a piece of the new as a patchwork to patch up the old, the patchwork coat model, like the Kabbalah. Those who see the wolves in sheep's clothing and reject it, the rejecter of the rejecter, like Mark. The bootlicker, the supporter of the rejecter, like the Gospel of John. Number 6, those who advance certain parts, like Plato, Plotinus, and Proclus, who advance the dialectic, but ignore other parts. They ignore dream analysis and midwifery. You can't do one without the other. You can't do philosophy without midwifery, and you can't do either without dream analysis. Ideally, to its fullest excellence, to its conclusion. Let me just change my lighting. Oh, that one's better. There we go. Number 7, appearing loyal to the old while creating an alternative to the old literal interpretation of those old beliefs. Dionysius, the Areopagite, or if a wolf in sheep's clothing is the old attacking the new, then this would be a lion in wolf's clothing. Yes, I'm just like you. I'm one of you ignorant, fervently loyal to our old ignorance people. But actually I'm not. I'm actually a lion. I'm a philosopher. The danger of that serves an important function, especially if the wolves are killing everyone, like the Dark Ages and the Christians. But the problem with that is there are some people who won't realize that you're actually a lion in wolf's clothing, and they'll think, oh gee, that wolf is pretty intelligent and sharing truth and helping us develop understanding. Maybe there is a actual philosophical legitimacy in Christianity. Dionysius was quoted over 1,000 times by Thomas Aquinas, and all Christian theology follows the tradition of Thomas Aquinas. Therefore, if you realize Dionysius was actually a Platonist pretending, then there is no metaphysical or philosophical legitimacy in Christian theology. Or, if you want to get into the game of understanding, but you don't want to give up your old Christian tradition, then just say, hey, I'm studying Dionysius and Mark. Mark, of course, warning the problems with belief. The story of Jesus as someone who has an enlightenment experience but does not develop understanding, does not go perfect his experience, and has not reflected on his old beliefs and therefore gets stuck in his beliefs, leading to his tragic demise. There is no resurrection in the Jesus story. It was added 200 years later. That's commonly known by all Christian academics. In other words, the story ends with, God, why have you abandoned me? So Jesus doesn't even realize that his problems were caused by his own beliefs. So, get into Dionysius. If you are stuck in your Christianity. So, number 8, a lion who may fooled by the lion in wolf's clothing, who may add to the new tradition, but also tries to synthesize the old and new together. A both sideser. I've seen a few philosophers out there who try and say, yes, understanding is good. But actually, beliefs are good too, maybe? There's a way of maybe saving belief, saving the old. Yes, maybe all beliefs, maybe all religions are saying the same thing. Well, they're literally not, and they're all bad because they're all based on belief, which is the cause of human ignorance, problems and suffering, oppression, violence, and scamming. You're scammed through your beliefs. Oh no, but maybe we can find a way. You are talking nonsense. Ficino. So that's where we are in our review. The causes, the categories, the upward movement from soul to mind to self to our ultimate purpose or meaning of life, and its version for the soul, mind, and self. Each of them has its opposite, and you can also move horizontally to jump into different categories of things to gain insight or create analogies to explain. All through our reflection, we've been using the analogy of building a house to understand the causes. There it is. First and final cause, Billy needs a place to live in. The paradigm or model, the blueprints, the doer or functioner or instrumental cause, the builder, the activity or mean cause through which the builder can act on the material, building, and the material or receptive cause, the bricks. Bricks, building, builder, blueprints. Billy needs a place to live. Billy needs a base to ball out. So, let's read. I hope you have been having as much fun as me. Because my goodness, what amazing conclusions to come to. And by the way, do you notice the difference? None of these conclusions I just said, hey, just believe the conclusion. We had to reason for a very long time. And bring the parts together in a structure. But because we've reasoned through the parts and see how they must come together in this kind of a whole, Merry Christmas to Sus. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are you going? Actually, we might say Merry Socrates-mas. How's your world, Sus? Did Socrates leave a Platonic dialogue underneath your statue of Apollo because you were a good philosopher this year? So notice, you can replicate this. You can explain it. You can use it. And because the paradigmatic cause is a state of knowing, you can confirm it. In other words, you can confirm for yourself that there might be a paradigm or model inherent in what we're reading, so long as you are a soul open to seek understanding, or the logos. And when you get into the level of mind, a receptive soul seeking to follow the dialectic, you can verify it in your experience in time, in going through the activity of the dialectic to benefit, apply it to your real life, reach the goals you've been blocked from, gain freedom from the problems you've been stuck in. But not only that, not only do you confirm it in everyday world experience, you can confirm it in direct experience of the paradigm of divine luminosity. So it's verifiable. So it's understandable in this structure. It's verifiable in personal experience, and the model is verifiable in the knowing of the paradigm, which has of course two levels: the mind and the self. So no belief. No belief, no opinions, just lots of fun. And if it was belief, we wouldn't be interested, because we wouldn't be able to share in it together. We want something universal, something that will always be true. People die and there goes their beliefs. But a kind of learning and nurture of the logos, dialectic, self, well, dream maker. So, where we are in the text. Do. The haters. Bring in our haters. The haters say... Where are the haters? There they are. When you have to build your case from a known falsifier, Dionysius, you have to admit you've got a problem. Your Dionysius the Areopagite was found to be a clever crook. That's all he is and was. His attempt to subvert the teachings is sufficient argument to dump him. Wow. And his writings. Sure, he tried to bring about a Hellenization of the West, and it was a good try. But he flopped, However, I should admit that I liked hearing about what... Oops. I liked hearing about what was said about the logos. What? This is new for the haters. They liked hearing about the logos? Could they be entering into that very first stage that they've been blocked from? Are they getting close to being a soul receptive to learning about the dialectic? About the logos? That's the first stage in our actual purpose or journey? Or hero's journey? You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm looking for someone to share in...
I said
You're a wizard, Harry.
Are the believers who have been fearing their own mind starting to become curious about understanding or the logos? Or the understandable order that permeates everything? The logos isn't just understanding, it's also language. It's also the understandability of the spiritual experiences of mind and self. Are they getting curious about this logos thing? Might they get into, therefore, the activity of reading? As a soul receptive to seeking and following the logos? Ooh, maybe they are benefiting by being in the presence of this dialectic. Maybe doing a dialectic with people, especially in a public setting, could be a
win-win-win-win-win.
A win-win-win-win-win. And then maybe we can say to them,
Honey, I will hold your hand while we read together.
and we're going to hold hands and read together.
I'm a real living being. I think it's so awesome.
And it's so awesome. Could that be where we're at?
Making ice cream's a good and courageous thing.
Yes, okay. I'm about ice cream again. Emma, you're gone crazy. It's not my fault for not having enough Emma drops.
I should admit that I like hearing about what was said about the Logos. For the Logos did take on flesh and became what we can believe in. It rings through me, and I wonder why it is linked to this idea of perfection. Wait a minute, don't smile! The idea of perfection is the weakness in this discussion. Why? Because there is no perfection here. Maybe in heaven there is, but not among us.
Among Us. Hey, sus. You are sus when you play Among Us.
Gooners.
Okay, I'll stop being a gooner. I'm not a
You
gooner.
moron. You absolute fucking
absolute
buffoon. You goddamn idiot.
Goddamn idiot.
Freaks.
Freaks. There is no... Hey,
Maybe there's perfection in heaven, but not among us. We face only mysteries, and they can't be solved. Whatever you can dump that was the mystery of... Whatever you can dump that was of the mystery means it wasn't much of a mystery to begin with.
fuck does that mean? Whatever you can dump that was of the mystery means it wasn't much of a mystery. I don't know what that means. But we've been talking about that, right? Every stage there is the opposite. So that which for the soul rejects the logos. There is no thinking, there is no understanding, there is no paradigm of thought that brings about our excellence like Socrates, that is behind these great texts. There is no actual ordering or harmonizing our soul with the logos of reality, just as true politics would therefore be to harmonize our laws with the laws of reality in the universe. So too, to harmonize our soul with the logos would be virtue or our excellence. Equally so, there are people who reject that, as there are people who reject the mind. There is no way of understanding problems. Just pick a shrink whose opinions you like and then, you know, go to therapy. Of course, this would be the model of actual therapy. Some people say that you can't understand the nature of reality or mind. You can't understand the luminosity experience. You can't understand what happens when you die. You can't understand the meaning of life. And of course, self. It's ineffable. It's just emptiness. It's void. It's nothingness. So at every stage of the way, you can reject your own intended functioning, because each one of them, as a soul seeking our excellence or virtue or practicing that, it's a soul ruled by the logos to desire, to seek, and to reason according to or to follow the logos. Understanding. The activity of solving problems and reaching our excellence, the dialectic, is following the pattern of understanding. To participate in our greatest activity, dream analysis, and to reach our highest functioning as a midwife of dreams, requires understanding dreams, is the activity of understanding your dreams and the dream maker. It's all about understanding. It's what we do. That's our game. It's how we apprehend in time. And we take it with us to our out-of-time experience of the paradigm, so we have wisdom, both logos and ousia. So yeah, human problems could be characterized as nothing other than that which rejects, denies, or fights against the logos, the anti-logos, the patho-logos. You can't understand or know. That's it. There's no ousia and no logos. even though those are the two things that make us evolve, different from cabbages, cows, and caterpillars. So interesting that the chorus are all about mystery and not understanding, but they are curious about the idea of logos and the idea that logos is linked to perfection. So you could say our perfection is to move through those causes, which is moving through the logos. The logos in text, the logos in dialectic, and the logos in dream analysis. Pretty neat, huh? What do the anti-haters say? Are they going to clap back with facts? Are they going to say,
Die mad about it, bitch.
hey, are they going to say, die mad about it, bitch?
I've been a bad little girl.
Because you've been a bad girl?
On absolutely gooped.
And you're gooped? Let's see. Uh-huh. There they are. Anti-chorus.
Well, there's a change. You liked what was said about the logos. Good. Take a look. Could it be you are a member of one of these divisions they are talking about? Ooh. If so, could it be that you can't hear or accept anything other than what you believe in? Did you know that in the most profound of principles, there is the Logos? This Logos was with God, so it is divine, isn't it?
So, our seeking and following in every aspect, our soul with our excellence and virtues, our mind through the dialectic, and our self through the dream analysis is following the Logos. But, as we said, for each there's a paradigm, which is both ousia and logos. That's the word intelligibility. The paradigm is the whole picture, like the blueprints of the house, but also the parts. So it has to be understandable for the builder to use it. And that, of course, is a quote from before John became a supporter of the rejecter, before he jumped on the Paul bandwagon. The first couple of sentences in the Gospel of John is, what was it? At first there was the Logos, mistranslated as word. Of course, as we've been saying today, Logos is more than just words. But the word is Logos, and the Logos was with God. Meaning, just as the Logos is the inherent paradigm of the dialectic that unfolds through the texts, but that's also what we use as we read. In the activity of reading, we are looking for how the dialectic follows in the text, because if there's a missing part, we have a question. But also if we want to understand something, we want to put it together in a whole. There's a logos inherent in the dialectic for our reading, but equally so, the dialectic, its model, mind itself, eternity, the whole of all that exists, has an understandability to it as well. It's beautiful, sure. It's bliss, sure. It's luminous, sure. But it's also understandable, because it's the model of understanding, or the skill or art of understanding, the excellence of understanding, the dialectic. So that idea of God, that which exists in the higher sense, has logos in it, from which we use our greatest functioning, from which we derive our greatest functioning of understanding the dialectic. But equally so, the dream maker crafts dreams according to a model. That includes all your past lifetimes, your level of development of soul, mind, and self, appropriate to everything else, unpackable through the dialectic. So it must be using a model that even is beyond mind. So here is the idea of the model or paradigm of self, or knowing thyself, which contains both a knowingness, ousia, and a logos. Together, self is intelligible. Making sense of what the haters say. Hey, you believers who are at a class of rejection of truth, which probably is the first one, to reject the new completely and keep the old. It's because they're in one of those divisions where they can't accept anything other than what they already believe in. Number one. And what's funny about that is, he says, in the text says, you're a member of one of these divisions. Now, using that map that we've been developing, the paradigm of the logos or dialectic, we said we can apply it to lots of things, including cognitive functions. So there's our 5 causes, and it's easier to see analogy, Billy's house, but we could apply it to our cognitive functions. And we can apply it to the stages of the dialectic. What's interesting is the stage of dialectic that corresponds to knowing the paradigm of mind is the definition itself in relation to self, itself knowing itself through the mirror of mind or shadow. Our greatest functioning, whether in reading, dialectic, or dream analysis, is functioning through the ideal activity of understanding, the dialectic. See, our functioning or demonstration, our greatest use of self to others. Now, the 4th category of the dialectic, or 5th if you take the top one, but normally speaking, the next one down, the 4th, others to others, division. Within the context of dialectic, you have this functioning we talked about. Now you talk about those who have been affected by self, how they then relate to others. How does that play out in your relationships, your goals, your dreams, your everyday life, your fantasies? To look for patterns, division. But that's also the category that pertains to the cognitive function of belief. So you can understand belief as always other than others. You're always other than yourself. You're always in conflict because your soul doesn't want belief. It's bad. It's a sickness. It wants to understand and know, and use that understanding and knowing to function ideally, to know the nature of logos, dialectic, mind, self, reality, dream maker. So you're always in conflict with yourself. You're always other than yourself. And as you look at the other Mormons in your church, or the other Anglicans, or the other Jews at your mosque, or temple, other Muslims at your mosque, you'll see, hang on a second, we're not all the same. That guy's not really into it. That guy's too into it. That guy has just using religion to project his crazy bullshit from his family. That guy's super racist. That guy's just made up his own thing. We're all different. We're all other from each other. But we can come together to be other than the Christians, other than the Mormons, other than the atheists, and do war against them. Or be manipulated by capitalists who want you to kill others who you see as different by manipulating your beliefs, religious beliefs, political beliefs, racist beliefs, sexist beliefs, to get you to be other from other. Notice, the capitalists and billionaires and Republicans and religious folk are always sowing division and fear and otherizing groups. You're woke, you're heathen, you're infidel, you're sinner, you're illegal, you're etc., etc. So it's neat that he says that the anti-chorus says, hey, your problem is you can only accept whatever you already believe in. No growth, stagnant. So you can't learn, can't develop, you're stuck. Because you're in one of those divisions based on belief. Which is funny to me because the cognitive function of belief can be represented as the dialectical stage of division. So when he said you're in one of those divisions, he didn't mean it this way, but it fits too. So for me, it's very funny. I said funny. Very funny.
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed my body.
I didn't harm anybody, and I am good all the time. That was a funny joke. You get it? Division, belief, they're next to each other. They're analogically connected, horizontally through the sets of the dialectic. It's very funny, actually. And you know it's funny because it's very cumbersome to explain. All right, enough of that. Could it be you're a member of one of those divisions they are talking about, that you can't hear or accept anything other than what you believe in? There's the joke. Very good. Very funny. And by the way, the logos, in the most profound of principles, there is the logos. So the paradigm of mind and self, the two spiritual kinds of experience states, because self isn't an experience, it's a state. But you can say mind is an experience and a state of mind. But even in the most profound, there is the logos. Just like in your book, the first couple of sentences of John, the logos was with God. Therefore, it's divine, right? So interesting too, you can't hear or accept. It's not just you can't accept it. And if maybe you've had that experience where somebody says something that's really good, but because of your negative image of yourself, you can't hear it. And your friends say, didn't you hear that person saying that this thing about you? And it didn't stick. Like sometimes you can't physically hear it. It gets all garbled up somehow. That's another difficulty. If people's pathologos are quite strong, or false beliefs are quite strong, your blind spots can be literal, I can't hear it, or I can't see it. Which is why it's difficult to talk to people about their problems, because you're asking them to relate to evidence to get them to realize they might have a problem, but that evidence they can't see because their problem blocks them. That's interpretation. They're either adding what's not there and responding to that, or blocked or blind or can't hear or see this piece of evidence. So that's why often when you're trying to help people by pointing to a problem they might have, that's causing their negative functioning to themselves and others, they get frustrated and angry and feel like they're being victimized. Or get confused and irritated because what are you saying? Oh, I don't see this thing. Oh, you're crazy. Maybe you're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
You have severe mental illness,
You
and
have
you need
the
to be
mental
fucking
illness.
checked into an
You need
insane
to be in an
asylum.
insane asylum.
I've been a bad little girl.
And you've
You've been a
a-
bad little girl and you're
You've-
getting a vigorous spanking right now?
And you're getting a spanking right now. Emma, come on. Because you're asking them to relate to something, or as the Oracle says,
There's only two options at the end of an argument.
no, not that one.
Cool as a cuke.
Cool as a cube.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
That's it. Because our problems didn't come because of reason or logos and ousia, reason and reflection. It's an unsuspected false belief about self and reality that causes our blind spots and projection. So you can't reason them into it because they're blocked from that evidence that they need to reason about. And also they're opposed to the logos. Look at these haters opposing understanding. We hate understanding, it's bad. Therefore, it seems like our mission, or the way of relating or connecting or helping people, is to share our love of understanding and reading so that they become curious about their own excellence of their own state of soul or virtue, or removing their vice. They become curious about their own highest use of mind, or starting to love understanding and removing their ignorance, and become curious about knowing the true nature of the self and functioning through the highest excellence of self, and removing any false image, mask, ego of self and its functioning, any negative self-talk that shoots them down. Because that can awaken them to the activity of reading to learn about the dialectic, which can awaken them to the dialectic activity, which can help them find the root cause of their problem that they didn't reason themselves into. So while you can't reason someone out of a problem they didn't reason themselves into, you can do philosophical midwifery to help them discover the problem, find the clues, trace it back to the origin scene, address the origin scene with the logos this time, with reason this time, freeing them from their blocks. And of course, this activity, which they're doing to reason themselves, to technically engage in a kind of reasoning to take them out of their problem, and reflecting on how much they've benefited from that, it's this activity that prepares them for dream analysis, because by seeing that the dialectic helps you in those two ways, purification and perfection, and it's therefore the most beneficial thing you can do, only with that under your belt, in your back pocket, can you appreciate the dream market maker as the greatest dialectician and the thing we should most be interested in, or the greatest activity. So I guess get people curious and encourage them to reach their highest excellence. Get curious about their ideal state of soul, their ideal functioning of mind, in what it might be like to be most authentically themselves. Or curious about removing the blocks. So those are the two questions you can really ask someone. What's your excellence? What's your highest vision and understanding that you've been working on? Or what problems are you curious about? Two kinds of curiosity, two kinds of being pregnant with an idea for midwifery. Okay. So, haters don't like the idea of understanding, but hang on a second, they're getting curious about this idea of logos. That makes us smile. They reject the idea of perfection or excellence. Again, we need to be seeking our excellence to want to be an excellent soul, mind, and self. So you're out of the game. So you have to, that's the thing, that's the Aphrodite and Apollo. You have to be inspired to reach perfection or excellence. And then when you have that, you can add to it, or it's not one and then the other, but the two together. You need to therefore want to understand the thing you want to be perfect in, or excellent in, or virtuous in. I want to be the best computer builder. Now you can be inspired to read about it and learn to understand computers. So, they're curious about the logos and curious about perfection, but then they turn around and say, actually, no, there is no perfection, it's only in heaven, and there is no understanding, there's only belief or mystery. So, I liked hearing about the logos, was a win. Dubs in chat. Press the W's in chat. I will do it. Dubs in chat for a win there. The haters are turning themselves around. And I am curious about how this logos is linked to the idea of perfection. Two things they're wondering about, curious about. So another dub in chat. There we go. However, with a new openness or new insight or new curiosity or new understanding comes the counterattack.
Wrong. You're so wrong.
So wrong.
But that's okay. We're all allowed to be
okay.
wrong sometimes.
We're allowed to be wrong sometimes.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
Yes, we are cool because we recognize the counterattack. So what's their counterattack? Counterattack is the beliefs. Where's the word belief? Down here. Our old beliefs fighting against the new understanding or the new truth. So the counterattacks are, wait a minute, don't smile. We smile when we see that there is a logos we can follow, that we live in a caring reality that cares about us, is friendly and caring and understandable, makes us smile. They say, no, don't smile. Being a believer is to be stern, to be alpha and manly and blow up the blow up the poors and the Venezuelans and the Palestinians and the poor people and the non-whites. Yes, angry and masculine is the speeches that every fascist government or religious sect talks about. But we want to smile. Where's the fun?
Where's the joy? Where's the
Joy.
whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
Where's the childlike wonder, dude? They don't like the idea of smiling, so they say, actually, perfection is bad. So there's the counterattack to the idea of perfection or excellence or our Aphrodite striving towards the ideal that you need to have, seeking the truth. Only in heaven, but not here. And there's no logos, we face only mysteries. So no logos and no perfection as the counterattack to them becoming open to the curiosity to logos and perfection, which may be a clue to our mystery. If human beings are all raised in families or some sort of version of family, or every single one of them gains a pathologos false belief about self and reality that functions against our seeking of perfection in the logos, specifically to maintain the way of being of that family because they don't want to change, then we have a difficulty in sharing the logos and our quest of man with people. They will say there is no quest of man, there is no perfection, there is no enlightenment, it's all phooey. And they'll say there is no understanding, there is no paradigm of logos, it's all opinions at best. But so they're blocked from discovering the logos and seeking perfection in their reading of their reading to discover the dialectic and then getting into the dialectic in an open state of mind to seek their own mind perfection through the mind logos, not reading logos, to awaken to dream analysis to discover the perfection of self through the self logos. They're blocked from all of it if they reject the two principles of perfection or logos, or ousia and logos. Perfection and understanding. Excellence and understanding. But being present for these discussions might make them curious. So maybe that's the ticket. To do our best to find good souls, good minds, good selves, good hearts, good heads, and do our best to participate in this kind of reading, this kind of dialectic, and this kind of dream analysis around people, around the normies. So the normies can become curious. Maybe that will awaken their curiosity about their own perfection and their own understanding. Ousia and logos. Maybe that's the way in. Otherwise, we're stuck. So it's not an esoteric tradition like Socrates. We do it in public. We do it in the marketplace. We do it on stream. And it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Right, RM?
Cool as a cuke.
I thought so. So, let me adjust my chair. Ugh. Hang on, I have to adjust my fan too. It's getting pretty hot in here. Right, so as we've been reading, sorry to repeat myself, as belief is the cause of human ignorance, suffering and savagery, and human problems, while Socrates shares understanding, or shares what we need to read to learn understanding for ourselves, which belief opposes, but is our excellence of functioning, our excellence of mind. Some people instead are not saying Merry Christmas because Jesus obviously is pedestalized as a figurehead to venerate that sickness of human functioning belief. Why not venerate Socrates, the champion of understanding and giving us what we need to reach our most meaningful goals and fulfill our intended purpose or meaning of life? So my Merry Christmas wishes was that in text form and saying Merry Socratesmas. It's Merry Socratesmas to all of us. And I fully expect the people who I've sent that to be like the anti-chorus, be like the chorus, be confused and meet their confusion with anger and hostility, because they have not yet woken up to the joy and the necessity for the dialectic to engage in, to remove their own blocks in opposition to their own self-reflection and understanding. Meaning they might not have enough ousia, self-reflection, to reflect on those texts, and enough logos, thought, thinking, to reason through the text and understand it. That's why beliefs are so terrible. But I say it anyway because we are supposed to. Remember, in the text, we have the law of truth. The law of truth requires those who know the same say the same about the same. Knowing then the truth, we speak the same truth. So, I say it anyway. But I made it fun. I put a joke or two in there. I'm actually very funny. You won't guess it by listening to any of my podcasts, but I'm actually very funny.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
See, I told you.
I find that very entertaining.
See? RM Brown finds it entertaining. It must be funny. So, Merry Socratesmas to anyone who's watching this now or in the future. Hooray. Hey. So, Socrates. This comes in. Next section. We are almost at the end. Exciting stuff. How's it going to conclude? Socrates. I would like to hear more of your comparison of Dionysius with your Gnostic John. The Gnostic scriptures, as a reminder, the texts that were left out of the Bible by the bastards who were killing everyone who wanted to understand, setting up the Christian tradition, but were discovered again in the 60s in Egypt, and they're called Gnostic because they're the ones that talk about Jesus talking about understanding and the kingdom of heaven being states of mind. So nothing to do with belief, the opposite of belief. So we can see why the people, because by the way, have you noticed all grifters use belief? They're always right-wingers. They're always lying through beliefs, not helping you see the truth through understanding. Because how can they grift to you if you're understanding the truth? Notice that believers and grifters always want you to be ignorant. Their kids can go to private schools, but no funding for the public schools.
Isn't it interesting that it's so obvious?
So, the Gnostic Gospels talk about understanding. Gnosis, of course, is knowing. So, understanding that leads to knowing. There's our development of mind. Knowing, of course, is is that divine luminosity experience. That's the paradigmatic cause, and Jesus did have that. However, after his luminosity experience, he seemed to have his, what we call it, the counter-attack. So he became more fervently attached to his beliefs, and that played out his danger, his tragedy. Socrates. I would like to hear more of your comparison of Dionysius with Gnostic John, so please continue. Jesus. That is fair. Dionysius is much like our friend John the Gnostic writer, since he clearly rejects the Pauline doctrine that faith is sufficient for salvation. So there it is in a nutshell. Why is the murderous, sadistic, lying son of a bitch Paul so wrong? Because he says faith is sufficient for salvation. Can you faith your way into solving any other problem? Let alone the most meaningful ones of soul, mind, and self. Fuck no. Can't faith your way into fixing your car, your toaster, anything. Your sick dog. Can you faith your way into excellence? Fuck no. You can't be the best basketball player, the best skateboarder, the best computer science by faithing your way there. So why the hell would you accept this horse shit that it applies to what's most meaningful? Got to reply to one of those texts. Interesting thoughts to reflect on. If I was a betting man, I would think that that response would probably be the end of the reflection, only because the nature of pathologos functions as a virus, the zombie virus. It limits the capacity for self-reflection. Think about how little a religious person reflects on the own absurdity of their beliefs, how little a MAGA person reflects on their own absurdity of MAGA. It's insane. It's always a grift. It's blatantly, obviously a grift. They're obviously lying to them through their religious beliefs and nationalistic Nazi beliefs. It's so obvious, but they have so little capacity for ousia because of the nature of the pathologos. They can't see. But we can find the good souls, the rare birds out there. Yeah, thumbs down for them. But we can find the good people out there to talk with in public to practice this, because it seems like the chorus, by being in the presence of this kind of conversation, have become curious about this thing called perfection and this thing called logos. Necessary preconditions to awake to reading, and then the dialectic to free themselves from said pathologos. So, Paul doesn't do any of that. Don't learn anything, don't do anything, be an ignorant bitch so I can abuse you and play out my own ignorance on someone else, just like my parents did to me. That's the Pauline doctrine. That's the idea that faith is sufficient for salvation. Says Jesus. Paul says nothing about the conditions. Oh, we were just talking about conditions. Hooray for us. I didn't read ahead. Paul says nothing about the conditions necessary. So, conditions or preconditions and sets of causes leading to the higher cause is one way of understanding conditions. necessary. It's understanding because they are necessary conditions. We don't follow it, or we don't think it because we are told we must, or else we go to hell. It's not a belief. We see these things that we've been developing as necessary. They're necessary. They're also beautiful. Necessarily must follow. So it says nothing about the conditions necessary for entering the kingdom of God. Remember, state of mind, not a thing in the clouds. That's literalism, that's barbarism, that's not theology. Which of course is basic and central to the Gospel of Mark. So, the Gospel of Mark offers understanding as the way. Oh, here we go. Oh, banger, 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 banger. Isn't that neat? We've been hypothesizing about the difference between Mark and the Gnostic Gospels and Paul and John, the wolf in sheep's clothing and the bootlicker of the wolf. But here we have it in black and white. I think that's pretty neat. Mark offers understanding, hooray, as the way to prepare what? The mind for breakthrough, the breakthrough we call the kingdom of God. Do we find it on our map? Understanding that we learn about in reading, that you can only be doing if you're curious about ruling your soul based on understanding or following the logos. Only in reading and reflecting on our reading can you discover the dialectic, the activity of perfecting your understanding. There's our idea of logos and perfection, both of which needed for participation in mind, or the dialectic. What's the activity of mind? To be a dialectician. So all of those are conditions or pre-causes for understanding, and understanding is the way of preparing our mind through the functioning of the dialectic in perfection and purification, as well as reflecting on the dialectic as a whole. As we're doing here, we're doing the reflection part. We're reflecting on what understanding is, what the dialectic is. That's our preparation of the mind for breakthrough to the kingdom of God, or the sets of causes needed as preconditions for the ideal functioning of mind, the dialectician, the art of understanding, which is the way of preparation to reach the paradigm understanding is based on. Mind knowing mind, or divine luminosity. Or the way it's said in the text, the preconditions for understanding, and understanding as the preparation for the breakthrough into the kingdom of God. So the kingdom of God is a metaphorical or mythological representation, the way Jesus and Mark use it, for the paradigmatic cause of mind, or mind knowing itself, or self knowing itself as mind, or the intelligibility of mind itself, or the penultimate spiritual experience. This paradigm is the penultimate. The paradigm of self is the ultimate. Those are the two kinds of spiritual experiences. If this is the kingdom of God, I wonder if there's a different metaphor for this, or maybe because after Jesus' experience of this luminosity, he didn't further develop as a dialectician or understanding, he got into his problem. So maybe he didn't have a word to talk about what is beyond the kingdom of God. Maybe that's what heaven is, the self, or maybe he didn't get there. Let's see what the text says. Mark offers understanding as the way to prepare the mind for breakthrough we call the kingdom of God. Indeed, says Socrates, there is that way to the kingdom of God. It is direct and simple. Well, it's only simple because we've got a big map on the board. But I think we also need something like what Plato stated in his myth of the Phaedrus, in the Phaedrus. Indeed, I am sure you know of it. It is where he describes the journey of the soul to experience the other side of heaven. In the journey, there are stages along the way. But I would have liked all the stages of enlightenment from a glimpse to the final stage fully worked out. Right. So, two things he could be meaning here. The other side of heaven would be maybe its cause, the self, or using our other map, the Venn diagram. Our move from belief and objection to logos into through the activity of understanding to experience the model of mind. There's our luminosity experience, or heaven, or the kingdom of God. The two together being wisdom, philosophy, love of wisdom. But the other side could be its cause, the self. From the lesser to the greater to the ultimate. There's our triad. Or, by saying the other side, he could be referring to the fact that there are stages of understanding, experience, development through that paradigm. That's metaphysics. Is beauty higher than justice? How about harmony? How about whole and part? How about same and different? How are they lined up? In fact, all of these selfers, building blocks, terms of the logos that we have on the board. Whole, part, same, different, etc. Justice, beauty, goodness, etc. Lesser, greater, ultimate. They're all aspects of that divine luminosity. Certain experiences might be of greater depth. We've talked about the experience of depth of that luminosity corresponding to your state of intelligence and being. The deeper to which you can experience that and endure that and understand that is the depth of your intelligence. That also applies to our reincarnations, as we read in the text. We all experience the divine luminosity when we die, and the depth to which we can experience and endure that corresponds to our next reincarnation's level of intelligence and care. Excellence. But of course, if we recognize that to reincarnate down is only when we have more work to do, we can finish our job, perfect soul, mind, and self. Again, perfect through the logos, the two things the haters are just starting to get curious about. So we don't have to reincarnate downward and reincarnate upward. Maybe that could be the other side. So those are our two options. By the way, recognizing that in that luminosity there are aspects and aspects that are understandable, that give rise to the building blocks of the Lego pieces of understanding and experience and existence. Everything is a whole and part, same and different. So there are stages of that participation in luminosity. That's metaphysics, understanding being. Representing it with stories is mythology and theology. So theology is nothing other than the mythological or analogical representation of the study of metaphysics. It's not literal. So two options. And I think both apply. So it sounds like what Socrates is saying. You can have a glimpse of enlightenment and you can go through stages. There are stages along the way. But of course, there is that other side, that which is beyond mind or experience, the self. Sus, waiting for your alcohol to get there. Merry Christmas Eve. No, we say now, Merry Socrates-mas Eve. No, for me, it's not Christmas Eve, it's Christmas Day. I'm ahead. You haven't drank. You're gonna get wasted and clean your house. Socrates-mas Day over here in Australia. We're ahead of you guys. You haven't drunk in years. Well, if you are having some drinks, you can tune into my music stream. I'll probably be streaming music shortly. When are you going to be drinking? Like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? When? Wine. Reeve from our stream, an hour or so. Cool. I'll jump on stream in an hour. I'll play your tunes while you drink wine and celebrate Socrates-mas. Sockmas. Where Socrates comes through your window and gives you Platonic dialogues. If you've been a good philosopher this year, we'll work on the law. But Reeve from the stream hung out with me yesterday on our music stream. We had a blast. How are we for time? Read a little bit more. I've been making a lot of mistakes like typo shit. Oh, I hope you're taking notes. Take notes on the mistakes, or as we've been recognizing in our reflection the last couple of weeks, our problems function according to these causes. So if you notice, it's a philosophical win-win. Absolutely. If you notice problems or how you end up, your conclusion, take notes. If you take enough notes, eventually you'll start to notice a pattern or theme evolving. Now you can figure out why you've been getting them. You didn't choose them, but they are perfectly representative of what you've been learning in your soul's reincarnations up until now. As you notice a certain kind of repeating failures and a pattern, you might look at what was the drama that led to him. What were the stages leading to that problem or failure? That's the activity cause. Now notice, the 5 causes are just what we need for something to be. So the example is, Billy needs a place to live in. That's the first cause. It's also the final cause, because when Billy's living in his house, we know the house is built. Can you hit on me when you're drunk? I guess if it's playful and not too weird. I guess it's harmless because I live in a different country, so I don't have to worry. If it's fun. If it's creative. How about that? Great. If it's creative. If it reflects your highest understanding and vision of self and reality from philosophy. That's the idea of love and logos. What's this? Spamming caps warning. No, Nightbot. I added a new Nightbot. I added a new thing to stop with the spam, but it shouldn't be stopping you from doing stuff. I'm gonna have to fix that. Add Nightbot. Bad bot. No, I'm gonna have to turn that off. I don't want censoring real people. It's just for the spam. So you know how, like, when you want to build a house, go to the corner and think about what you did.
The internet is all robots.
We need the blueprints for building a house, right? We need a builder to function, to build the house. We need the bricks or the material cores to be built with, and we need the activity of building. what we can see is our problems, we can trace back through those causes. If you notice the material cause, the bricks, or to use the dialectic, the conclusion as a failure, taking notes, you'll realize if it's a repeating failure, you're in the game. It's not a one-off thing like I lost my keys, a repeating problem. You want to look for problems that repeat. Then you go for, that's the conclusion. What's the activity? Notice, because we've got a whole bunch of sets, we can move back and forth, we can move across. That's the significance of the logos or the dialectic. So you end up as a sad brick, material cause. You end up failure. What was the activity? What were the stages that led to that end? Take notes of that. That's the activity cause. The functioning cause, the builder, the instrumental. What was your role within that drama that had stages that led to that conclusion? You might start to notice that that same drama is not only playing out in your life, but in your imaginations, your daydreams, your sexual fantasies, but also your night dreams. You may be living out a similar role, instrumental cause, within an activity that has stages, the drama, that leads to your end or conclusion, a sad brick, not reaching your highest goals. So, you've noticed you play a certain role. The next question is, what's the paradigm? What are the blueprints you're following? Or what's the state of mind you were in when you were playing that role, that had a role within that drama which had stages that led to the repeating cycles of failure? What was your state of mind? Because that state of mind or way of being is what follows from the first cause, your image of the self. Your image and beliefs you carry about yourself and reality, but the image of self that you identify with ain't your true self. You're here to discover your true self, and it's more profound than you can even imagine. That's why we start to pay attention to our dreams, because our dream maker can imagine the true self. It might even be the true self. That's a puzzle we have in our reading. So, take notice of the failures, take notice of the stages in the drama, take notice of the role you play, take notice of the state of mind. Because if you've got enough notes about that, you have what you need to find yourself a dialectician who is the actual instrumental cause in the greater sense. He can help you reflect on that role, on the implications, on the state of mind, and see that that state of mind has a history through not only in the current problems you've been having, but has a history throughout your whole past that maybe even has an origin where you first learnt it, but the reason why you don't realize that self isn't you is it's unsuspected, and the reason it's just common sense. Of course it's me. It's always me. It's what I think about when I think about me. It's the person in my dreams when I dream. But the reason you don't know what it is explicitly, you just take it for granted, is because you didn't put words on it. So the dialectician can encourage you to put words on that origin scene where you walked away with that false belief about yourself within the family, that gave you a way of being that fit with the family, that gave you a role to play within that family, that allowed you to play out that family stages of drama, that led to the conclusion that your family has been stuck in, and your grandparents and your great-grandparents all the way back to the cave. The dialectician can help you do what you've been learning all this time, learn how to reflect and put words, usia and logos, on that origin scene you weren't able to do when you were too young and you were stuck in that house. When you understand that scene sufficiently, you will see what must have been your image of yourself and realize you've been taking the blame for their ignorance and injustice this whole time. You can give them their problem back, freeing you from their ignorance. And then you might start to notice that those problems have stopped coming up because the reason for them, for you to see that false image of self that you've been carrying, that's not fair, it's not just, it's not true, is actually not your problem but theirs. And if you understand it sufficiently, you can free yourself from it. You might start to notice, therefore, that you don't have the problems anymore. So long as you apply what you've been doing in the dialectic. And if you reflect on that activity and realize, holy shit, this is the thing that has helped me more than anything else in my life. I really love this dialectic thing. I want to find the best dialectician in the world. That might make you curious about your dreams and your dream maker. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Now, notice what we just reflected on to do with our problems is an analogical representation of our upward movement. Remember, there's two. There's the purification of the false, which has the same causes or stages or follows the same logos or dialectic, because it's the paradigm. But there's our upward movement. So here we have Socrates talking about not stages of our drama leading to failure, but stages of enlightenment leading to our success. Not our negative states of mind, but the stages within the stages of divine luminosity. So there's our ultimate, not failures, but success. Wisdom. And the role or functioning isn't the role that we accept as a sacrifice for our true self and philosophical goals. The role within the family, the klutz, the Cinderella, the slave, the joker, the fighter, whatever it is. Our role to go through those stages of higher states of mind, leading to the other side of heaven, not the false image of self, but the true self that manifests not as a state of mind, but as the state of mind. The functioning, the ideal role within that drama is understanding. Understanding is our functioning. The dialectic is that art. So see, goes both ways. That's how come analogy is so awesome. You see one, you can jump it, throw it over to the other and gain a new insight. So everything we're learning about our problems, or from the text about our excellence, you could apply to your problems. Only opposite. Do you see how understanding kicks so much ass, kicks all of the ass, all of the time?
You have severe mental illness. Disgusting. I'm dumbass.
Dumbass. No, good ass.
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
All the time. That's philosophy. It's good for us all the time.
These absolute dullards border
No.
try to kiss a fox.
Yes, and you can also try and kiss a fox, I guess. Don't know how that helps.
Gooners.
Okay, stop being weird.
You have severe mental illness, and you need to be fucking checked into an insane asylum.
I'm too pure.
We're too pure for that gooner talk. Alright, back to the text. Socrates. So Jesus said, Mark offers conditions for reaching that state of mind called the kingdom of God, and the functioning of understanding as the way or method to prepare the mind for that breakthrough to that paradigm, luminosity. Socrates says, yes, the journey of the soul. There we go. to experience the other side of heaven. Self, maybe. In that journey, there are stages along the way. Notice we talked about stages in the drama. In our negative sense. I would have liked all of the stages of enlightenment from a glimpse to the final stages fully worked out. Now, again. Whoops. That would therefore... What am I doing? Okay. No, I'll stay here. Just as all the way through the text, Socrates has been saying all the philosophers since me failed to put dream analysis in its place within the system. So that's what we've been doing. But now it seems like he's giving us another mission. Work out all of the stages from that glimpse. Maybe you just took a little bit too much acid at the concert and you had a glimpse into a breakthrough experience or a non-physical way of experiencing, opening the eye of the soul a little bit. 2, it's full union or luminosity or oneness. Can we do it? Well, we're about, what, 80% of the way through the text? I hope so. Wouldn't it be awesome if there was enough in the rest of the book to fully work out the stages of enlightenment? Let's see if we have enough. Jesus. With that I agree, says Jesus. Interesting it is that before our talk, I encountered some Zen masters. Ooh. And they spoke about their use of the ox herding pictures. For that very thing. In each picture, there is a beautiful and profound statement of the state of mind of the seeker. Oh my goodness. Oh, excuse me. Bless me.
Do a poggers.
Okay, that too. In each of these 10 ox herding pictures of Zen, there is a picture. There is a profound and beautiful statement about the state of mind of the seeker, the receptive soul, mind, self. What is encountered, so the state of mind, what is encountered, and how it functions. Oi, functioning sounds like the instrumental cause. State of mind, that sounds like the paradigmatic cause we were talking about, or the receptive material cause. What is encountered? Is that the material cause? Is that the activity? In other words, maybe we can find a place for the causes that we've been working so diligently and wonderfully and awesomely on.
Cool as a cuke.
Within the ox herding pictures? Each one ends with a suggestion of its sequel, so that as a whole, suggestion of its sequel, or what have we been seeing? That that for the sake of which the first and final cause of one level is the preconditions or the very first cause of the next level. The idea of hyparxis. So if we have stages of development, when you reach the top, this part is the top of the bottom triangle, but it's the very bottom of the next triangle. So for reading, hey, just wanting to desire, seek, and reason with the logos gets you into the book. Read the book long enough and you realize there's this thing going on called the dialectic. All right. Now I'm curious about the dialectic. That simple curiosity and willing to try it is all you need to get into the dialectic. But then you can go through the activity of mastering the dialectic. As you go through the mastery of the dialectic, you realize, holy fuck, the greatest dialectician ever is our dream maker. That curiosity or discovery is a suggestion of the next level, the suggestion of the level to come, to be yourself receptive to your dream maker, your guru, the guru. Similarly, it seems like he's saying, hey, each of these ox herding pictures have a bunch of things. A state of mind, which one? A state of mind. What is encountered, which one? How it functions, that probably this one, functioning one. And ends, final cause, with that as a whole. Remember, the final cause is when you have all of these together as a whole. So it's a giving rise to a new whole.
I'm too pure. The primary purpose, bless you, making ice creams, that one's perfect. The primary purpose, do it, poggers. I'm cute. Like, the more holes, the better.
Thank you, finally, Emma. The more holes, the better. Jesus, Emma.
Honey, I will hold your hand while we read together.
Let's read, honey. So, as a whole that anticipates or suggests its next level, its sequel. Do we have all of them? The seeker? What is encountered? Is that the drama? How it functions? The state of mind? And that for the sake of which? The whole that happens as a result? That suggests the next level? Wouldn't it be neat if we can take all of the work that we've been doing and apply it to the 10 ox herding pictures and see how well it does, sees where it falls down, and see if we can add to it what's missing to fulfill the task that Socrates has just set for us? I would like to see all the stages of enlightenment from a glimpse to the final stages fully worked out. Can we do that? Do we need to read a bit further and then jump into the ox herding pictures? What would it be like to take our general map of our purpose, meaning of life, the spiritual learning, evolutionary development of man, and apply it specifically to, within this paradigm, the stages of spirituality, to fully expand the spiritual experience? Wouldn't that be neat? You'll have to wait till next time. Cliffhanger.
And I find that very entertaining.
I'm always good, and that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
That's what we do on this channel, and what we stand for all the time. Cliffhanger. Will we see enough? Where are we going to go? Are we going to get any more material from the text, or is Socrates expecting that everything we've done up till now on these causes is sufficient? We will see, we will read, and maybe if it's time, we will jump into those ox herding pictures. Now, here's an extra twist. As we've been saying, what makes philosophy the paradigm of the spiritual tradition is literally this map, the fact that we can understand it. There's no, hey, just trust me, bro. Or the spiritual equivalent, shut up and go and sit on the mat and meditate. Or the religious equivalent, shut up, you'll go to hell if you ask questions. What makes this the paradigm is the logos. That's what we're here for. That's understanding. That's our highest functioning. That's our capacity. It's the logos that we make use of as our highest cognitive function as an evolved animal. But because human blocks are specifically a block to the logos, all traditions that do not have midwifery and dream analysis will be blocked from the logos. And as far as I'm aware, only Socrates and Pierre Grimes' philosophical tradition has those two things. That's why we read the books. Meaning, when we get into the ox herding pictures, while there might be a lot, they may lack the logos. We might have to put it in. But also, there's one more twist. The author, one of those people who do have the logos that I mentioned on that very, very short list of Socrates and Pierre Grimes. You could add Diotima and Parmenides in there as well, but that's kind of Socrates. Socrates talked with them. One of those people, Pierre Grimes, made his own revision of the 10 ox herding pictures of Zen Buddhism and added the logos to them. Holy fuck beans. Now, this is one of the things that is bittersweet about philosophy. Think about everything we've been doing in the last 2 weeks. Huge streams just to create this map. Think about the 5 months we've been reading this book. Think about the other things we've been reading to get to this book in this channel. Now, only at the end of all of that can we see, holy fuck, we know our purpose, and we can put it on a map. 3 stages, 5 causes within each. And within those causes, we can understand the spiritual experience as the paradigm of mind, the model of understanding as the paradigm of understanding, or the dialectic as the paradigm of reading and understanding, the spiritual experience of mind as the paradigm for the dialectic, and the knowing of self as the ultimate spiritual experience, which is the paradigm for mind, and the ultimate use of mind, the dream maker. So we've got that. So we see the significance of these highest of the 4 causes that lead to the next one, the paradigm, the blueprints. We have been doing all this work on the paradigm or model of reading the dialectic. Everything on the board is mapping out the dialectic. Even though there are just 4, there are its opposite, or 5 technically, there are its opposite 5. And there are vertical stages. And then you can double jump sideways for analogies. Talk about building, talk about cognitive function. So we've seen the significance of the paradigm, of the dialectic, of that we get as a soul in our understanding, the paradigm of the dialectic, which is our highest use of mind, the penultimate spiritual experience of mind knowing itself as eternity or being, and the paradigm of self knowing the self, which the dream maker uses to craft dreams. So it sounds like we are transitioning from this model of the dialectic to this model of mind, to talk about maybe just the same way we've created this map for the dialectic. Look how much is on the board. Very, very pretty. We need to also make a map for the paradigm of mind, experienced as stages of spiritual development or depth of the luminosity, from a brief insight until full excellence of. Which means we are taking the experiences and adding logos, both of which is needed for the paradigm. That's what it means to be a map or intelligible. So in other words, we are adding to what the Zen people have as experiences in a map. We're adding the logos into it to make it intelligible. But only after going through all this can we see how fucking awesome that is. A map for the paradigm of the dialectic or mind or spirituality? Holy fuck beans. That's amazing. This book has led us there. It's a fucking banger. But the author of this bangerest of all banging books also did us a solid. He took those 10 ox-herding pictures and did another version using language of philosophy and specifically the logos he throws in. That's how amazing that is. You won't recognize how goddamn amazing a review of the Zen ox-herding pictures with philosophical language and the logos specifically is, unless you've been doing this. I mean, talking about this book as the bangerest of all books, that is also up there. Top 5 probably things ever made. But this is the bittersweet thing. It's like we're dealing with Michael Jordan here, but there are only like 5 people or a handful of people on the planet who know what basketball is. But it's not just like some sport that's meaningless. It's the human quest. It's for everyone. So, fucking amazing. But it took us this kind of play, work, reflection, courage, virtue. It took us everything we've been developing up until this point for us to see how fucking brilliant the ox-herding pictures with the logos would be. We haven't looked at it yet, but as an idea, holy fuck beans. I've said that too many times today, but oh my god. Amazing. Isn't it amazing? And here is another hint. If you've looked at the review of the ox-herding pictures before, you're lucky enough, then you'll notice a couple of things stand out that are not in the Zen versions. First of all, the word logos, and as we said, it took us this long to see the significance of the logos. The receptive soul is the soul seeking and following the logos, that's the virtues. The ideal mind is the mind receptive to the dialectic, which is the structure and art of the logos. And our ideal self is the mastery of that using the logos of self that contains and creates the logos of mind and the dialectic having both within it intrinsically. It's all about logos, baby. You don't follow the dream maker as a self unless you're following the logos of your dreams. You don't function as the ideal mind or functioning human without following the logos of the dialectic. You're not reading unless you're following the logos of the text. It's all about logos. And you'll notice in the review of the ox-herding pictures the word logos, and in the old ones, no logos. Now, there was a clue in the text. Do you notice something weird? Did something stand out? By the way, if you're taking notes about your problems, look for things that stand out. They can be clues, like Sherlock Holmes in a crime scene. That thing stood out. That dead body shouldn't be there. That person should be alive. Could be a clue. That kitchen knife shouldn't be covered in blood. I wonder if there's a clue there. Here are some clues. What do we see? Today we saw the haters changed their mind a little bit. Sure, they had a counterattack. This stood out. I liked hearing about the logos. The logos. The word logos should stand out. It shouldn't fit there. At no point through the text has the chorus or the haters talked about liking the logos. They've always feared the mind and understanding. They've always opposed the logos. Second, they're interested in perfection. That's new. Believers don't believe in perfection. They believe that they're already perfect. Well, there is no perfect. It's just whatever I thought when I was 5 and I got my religious or family beliefs, that's it. No development. You can't learn. Otherwise, you're out of the team. You can't go beyond Jesus. You can't change your mind. logos, and perfection should stand out. Another thing that was weird that didn't seem to fit the pattern. Remember, look for patterns. We said it with our friend when you're in your problems as well. Look for repeating patterns. What's a pattern that was broken? Don't smile! Exclamation mark. That's a weird change of mind, a weird way of being. Is it playful? Why is the suddenly the chorus, the haters, caring about the anti-chorus? Don't smile, chorus, anti-chorus. Why are they smiling? They've been grumpy bastards the whole time. So, when we get into the oxherding pictures, comparing the oxherding pictures with Pierre Grimes' ones, can we look for the addition of the logos? Can we look for the addition of perfection? And can we look for some idea of smiling or what it might represent? And can we also maybe keep those questions as we continue to read? But it seems like that's where we're heading. We'll read a bit more, see what more it has to say about the Zen oxherding pictures, and then seeing as he's given us a goal, just like earlier in the text he said, hey, by the way, make sure you include in your understanding the 5 classes of souls, the 5 states of man. Now the actual terms weren't in the book, but it was referenced in the book, given us the question, and he told us where to find them. So we did a review of the philosophical king or queen, or aristocratic if there's lots of us. Soul, the ideal, to be ruled by the logos, to have a mind ruled by the dialectic, and a self ruled by the dream maker. And the diminishment, a timocratic soul, ruled not by the logos but by love of honor, fame. The oligarchic, ruled by wealth, physical pleasures, money. The democratic, anything goes, changing with the wind, not making a decision. What's the popular right now? Okay, always in conflict within themselves, always afraid of what? Some tyrant coming in and oppressing them. Either an oligarch taking all the stuff, or a tyrant imprisoning them. The establishment left. No principles is one example. There are others. People who, moral relatives, they don't pick a team, or they change teams every day depending on where the wind's blowing. But that creates the conditions for, once they start to get abused by those money lovers, capitalists start to take over, steal everything. A tyrant will say, me, vote for me. I will drain the swamp. I will make things affordable. I will fight back against the billionaires. So the democratic type of soul creates the condition for our tyranny. Now this is all within us. It applies politically, but it's all within us. When we're all out at sea, when we're not seeking our logos and perfection, and dialectic with mind and dream, maker with self, we'll go with the whims, but we won't get anywhere. But then our tyrannical soul, you need me, I'll step in, and that's our pathologos. I will stop the problems, I will be a fascist, and you need me. Someone's being bad, I need to be an unjust person like my dad, because I think it's just, and I think it's necessary. So the tyrant comes in, and that's the worst class of man. To be ruled by our injustice, to be ruled by the pathologos. So similar, and we matched it, and we used it in the map. Similarly, a reference to the oxherding pictures means we might be able to, well, we're being asked to specifically, what did he say? fully work them out, all the stages of enlightenment, which would mean stages, which means logos, which means understanding, and bring our idea of logos and perfection and smile with us, because those things stood out as weird. Maybe it's not in the oxiding pictures, maybe it's later on in the text. Oh my god. By the way, what are we doing? We're reflecting, remember, on each of the stages? Reading ain't just reading, it's reading and reflecting. We've been doing that for like 2 weeks. Dialectic ain't just doing the dialectic or the, whoops. It's not just reading the text, it's reflecting. Apollo and Aphrodite to reach Hermes, love and logos. Equally so, the activity of the dialectic isn't just the logos part, the midwifery and philosophy, the purification and perfection. It's also reflecting on the dialectic as a whole to recognize it's the most caring, beneficial thing. Equally so, dream analysis isn't just doing the dream analysis, getting the meaning from your dreams by unpacking its language through the dialectic. It's also reflecting on the dream maker. So what are we doing now? By talking about the fact that we are looking for questions in the text, we're looking for patterns and structure in the text, we're looking for things that stand out from the text. We are using the text, but if it's specifically referencing another text that's also legitimate, like Book 8 of the Republic with the kinds of soul, all the 10 ox-herding pictures, especially seeing as there's a translation of the Republic by Pierre Grimes' student Juan Balboa, and there is a translation of the ox-herding pictures by the author of this book himself. We're reflecting on the activity of reading. We're not just benefiting from reading, we are learning how to read. Those are the two. That's the activity and the reflection, the logos and ousia. We are benefiting by being the best kind of soul, receptive to the logos, in the best kind of activity we can do with our day, other than dialectic and dream analysis, but we do all three. Best kind of activity, reading, but we're also learning how to read. We're learning what reading is, which is necessary because maybe one day we will join with the dream maker and be creating works of art ourselves, or even in our physical life, using the dialectic to create works of art, books, texts. As Diotima says, hey, in a relationship that's defined by love and logos, two people seeking this together, you will give birth to not children, but works of art that will be objects of reflection for humanity for 1,000 years that will rival Homer and Hesiod. Or for us, the Bible and Quran. So it's important we learn how to read as we read. And that's what we've been doing. That's why we're doing it and talking about what it is that we're doing it, why it's different from how we're taught to read at school. There's no, what does the text mean to you? No. That's what we learn at school. That's garbage. Garbage. To that we say,
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
yes, that's what we say. We're learning how to read without interpretation. We're learning how to read to make use of our soul, mind, and self. So we can apply it to the texts, to our personal dialectics, and to dream analysis. It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win.
And that's what we're here for. So, killing it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're super puzzled about these ox-herding pictures and where we go from here. And make sure the logos, perfection, and smile, those are weird things. Lots of questions, lots of puzzles, lots of excitement, and what a cliffhanger. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
If you want to donate to the channel, there's a link below. If you want to join the Discord, you can. If you want a link to the PDF, there's a link below. And feel free to follow on Twitch or YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. What a banger this book is. Do you see? Do you see? Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.